distinguished potential investors to Zimbabwe. I stand here representing the nation of Zimbabwe, which is in the heart of Africa. We could call it the African secret, which has been recently revealed, which has been well kept, but it has been a sleeping giant, which is awakening now. And we believe that as government, we have the political will to do everything possible for your capital and for your interest, and whatever massages your decision-making, investment decision-making, to do so that you can find comfort in the emerging market example of Zimbabwe. It is a country which has now introduced a lot of reforms, which is prepared to continually making economic reforms which are going to make capital comfortable. It is a country which continuously has good governance and also has got fundamental adopted the rule of law. And it is a country which has got transparency and accountability to its people, united and above all multiracial. And it is a nation which thinks big. And when I say it thinks big, it is set for itself to achieve a higher middle income status in 12 years, by 2030. And we believe that by undertaking serious ease of doing business methods and undertakings, using our highly skilled manpower on the African continent, we should be able to find you a home. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take much of your time. Suffice to say that this is Zimbabwe. And I will ask my colleague, the Governor of the Reserve Bank, to make a specific presentation, and then we can then deal with other questions which follow. And let me say in conclusion that it is a stable nation, situated in a stable region, and it is compliant with its own constitution, and it is going to be holding free, fair, transparent, and credible elections sometime during the course of the middle of this year. And we have already invited the rest of the world, including North Americans, to come and observe this demonstration of democracy at play in Zimbabwe. We thank you.
Good evening or afternoon, depending which watch you've got. I'm in the Zimbabwean context. It's now a good evening or good night. Otherwise, good to see you. Thanks, Honorable Minister, for your kind words on this new frontier called Zimbabwe, in uncharted territory called Zimbabwe. The presentation that I shall make here is basically divided into 5 areas, of which the first one, as the Minister have just said, Africa's best kept secret. This country has been kept for a long time without being unveiled. So we thought we should come here to unveil it and then see what can happen to the hedge funds, investors alike. So these are the presentation outlines: introduction, the macroeconomic environment, to give you the context of Zimbabwe, and then look into opportunities in Zimbabwe, recent economic and investment reforms that have taken place in the country, re-engagement with the debt arrears and also with international relations, and then the prospects and the outlook and the conclusion. This is the map of Zimbabwe. Very beautiful country. In terms of context of Africa, that is where it sits, right towards the southern African side. And at the middle, that crack which is there, the line, that's what called the Great Hike. That's where most of all the minerals, which minerals I was talking about, they belong to. Your platinum, your chrome, your gold, that's the Great Hike. It's not found in Zimbabwe. So at least that's why I said we've been keeping this Great Hike for a long time underground. And what makes us different from the rest of other countries? What are our key success factors? What you call the Zimbabwe pride. Those are the 5 of them. With excellent human capital, maybe one of the most literate country in Africa, and of course one of the in the world also. With abundant resource endowment, plenty of resources, which need to be kept. Favorable location, you say it right there, it's in Africa. Africa has got more than 1.2 billion people in commerce, so there's market. We have a stable political environment, very stable indeed. Even during the transition, it was very stable. No one even lost his street during the process. That's how Zimbabweans are, stable, peaceful people. We suffer from with the tranquility, but we've got a good resource. Good financial and physical infrastructure. Our financial sector in Zimbabwe is quite good. The infrastructure, we've got a number of institutions that make it happen. Right. The context of Zimbabwe is that we currently use the multi-currency system in Zimbabwe, anchored by the US dollar, which happened in 2009 after very high hyperinflation. We abandoned the usage of our own currency, adopted the multi-currency system with the nine currencies in the basket, which I mentioned there: the rand, the Botswana pula, British pound, euro, Australian dollar, rupee, the Japanese yen, and Chinese yuan. Of course, the US is dominating currency in Zimbabwe. About 95% of the transactions in Zimbabwe are conducted in US dollars. In terms of the fiscal cash, all the transactions we use the US dollar as a settlement currency. So the other ones are just intervening. Then we use this. So what this has done was to bring in stability in the economy after hyperinflation in 2009. Up to now, we're using that. The structure of the economy, besides that, manufacturing sector is at 19%, agriculture is at 18%, and our telecommunications and transport is at 16%. Of course, then there's the distribution center. The mining is at 11%. We are a diversified economy by any measurement in Zimbabwe. Other countries rely on one product, either on oil. Zimbabwe relies on the number of products which are there. In terms of our key economic data, if you look at cross-country comparison, we just took about 5 countries there, including Zimbabwe. Angola, in GDP, they're expecting to grow by 1.6 this year. Kenya is expected to grow by 5.5% this year. South Africa 1.1%. Zambia 4.5%. So is Zimbabwe. We think this is the time for Zimbabwe to grow. Therefore, the baseline of 4.5% is achievable. Our GDP at 18.9%, we want it to quadruple. More than that, as the minister said, by 2030, we want to grow that GDP per capita from 1,200 expected this year, almost by 3 times to more than 3,500. So that this our vision, which the minister have just spoken about, is realizable. It means plenty of work. It means plenty of investment. What has been the missing link has been investment. Why has it been missing? Because of high country risk. So the new administration, what it did was to minimize, to reduce the country risk premium. That's why today we can stand before you and ask you to invest in Zimbabwe. The major merchandise exports in Zimbabwe In fact, one of the reasons why we've got a foreign currency shortages in Zimbabwe is because our exports are lower than imports. Big time. They are lower than imports. By a portion, about $2.5 billion is our deficit as an economy. How do we finance them? From borrowing from offshore. So these are the merchandise exports. Gold. Then the PGMs, these are your platinum group of metals. That's the PGMs. In the platinum group of metals, you've got platinum, you've got palladium, you've got gold and silver. Then there's tobacco, ferrochrome and others. So in Zimbabwe, the 5 major export items are gold, platinum, flue-cured tobacco, diamonds, ferrochrome. Of course, nickel is also there. That's the structure of Zimbabwe. We have a blend of minerals underground. Just to give you some indication, in terms of gold, we've got more than 13 million tons of gold underground. Currently, we are only producing about 25 tons per year, which is about $1 billion. If we divide 25 into 30 million tons, it means Zimbabwe is going to continue to mine, even at 50 tons per year, we're going to continue to mine for 4,500 years. The resources will be there. So whilst oil is to Angola, gold is to Zimbabwe. We have a blend of it. In the platinum, we're the second largest producing country in Africa, after South Africa. So the resources are there. We can, at the rate at which we are producing right now in terms of platinum, we've got more than 6,000 years to go. And therefore, it means that the country is potentially rich, but we're currently a poor country. It is that mismatch which we need definitely to work on as a country. The major imports in Zimbabwe, fuel. Each time we ban foreign currency in Zimbabwe, we're banning fuel. So many people ask me as a governor of the central bank, where is the foreign currency going? It's going into their vehicles. They don't know that they are banning liquidity when they are driving their vehicles. And the vehicles, the number of vehicles in the country, they have increased. And the next one is your foreign currency, is your manufacturing sector. Our manufacturing sector is improving now, right now. There's plenty of resuscitation, but the more it resuscitates, it requires more feedstock. More feedstock means more foreign currency. And therefore, the demand for foreign currency has increased significantly so. Machinery and the rest. So if you look at the exports and the imports, we have a trade deficit. But it's an economy that is expanding. So the more you expand, the more you increase more the need for foreign currency. But unfortunately, we are living on cash flow. We live on hand to mouth because Zimbabwe's access to foreign finance has been very limited because of the country risk events. So it means that we do not have a long-term capital. We have no patient capital. You cannot run an economy on a cash flow basis. Because capex, you need money from the gold, from tobacco, to purchase machinery. Yet you need to borrow funds offshore to resuscitate the economy. Zimbabwe enjoys low inflation environment. In fact, just to give you numbers, is that over the past 3 months, in January it was 3.52. In February, our inflation was 2.98. In March, as was publicized yesterday, is 2.5 or 2.68 to be precise. So we are at a low inflation environment, and this is very consistent with the investment. We need that. The growth opportunities in Zimbabwe are immense. As the minister said, we have got more than 40 or 37 out of the 40 minerals that are there. As we have said, platinum reserves are second largest in ferrochrome. Zimbabwe and South Africa has about 84% of the chrome in this whole world. That's a lot of chrome. This great dike that you saw. We've also discovered, as Minza said, of the lithium, cobalt. We've got the largest reserves, or the best, I think, land in Africa in terms of agriculture, where blue bellies and red bellies can be grown throughout the whole country, the whole year. No frost. We've got also good agriculture. Agriculture is the mainstay of the economy. Major crops being tobacco, your soybean, wheat, cotton, sugarcane, horticulture products. We used to be the best horticulture exporter in Africa. Now we've been overtaken by Ethiopia and Kenya, because this sleeping giant that Mr. was talking about went to sleep. It now is now awakening. You know, when a giant is awakening, you never judge a man by the way they fall, but judge them by the way they wake up. So I think it means I've checked the way you're waking up. I think it's very good. So the giant is awakening. I think this is very important. We've got plenty of potential in ventures of agriculture in terms of agri-equipment. There's plenty of both. We are mechanizing, value addition in terms of agricultural produce, greenhouses, technologies, plenty of scope for doing business. The manufacturing sector, because of the limited foreign exchange that the economy has, now requires rehabilitation. We've been doing that, use our own resources. It hasn't been easy, but we are happy that most of the companies, they are resuscitating. We need more. We can do better. With the opening up of the economy, we expect more joint ventures, partnerships coming to Zimbabwe. We expect corporates to expand their businesses. We have opportunities in agro-processing, fertilizer production, mineral beneficiation. Tourism, as the minister says, low-hanging fruits. We've done some airports, new airports in Victoria Falls. We can see Victoria Falls, the seventh wonder in the world. In Bulawayo, there are now new airports there. We have seen an increase in tourism, significantly so. And we want to invite you to Zimbabwe to partake of these wonders of the world. It's a peaceful environment. Once you come to Zimbabwe, you never want not to come there again. You can do your game park site, you do hunting, the trophies, lions. I think you know about Siso the lion, right? Siso the lion, there's two brothers are still there. The brothers and sisters of Siso, they are still there in Zimbabwe. The Siso the lion had a big story who was killed in our national parks. So you can see the brothers are there, the elephants are there, we call them the Big Five. Big Five. It's only found in Africa and Zimbabwe. So with all those five. So you come and do some hunting in Zimbabwe and get the trophies. Nowadays in America they are now agreeing that you need to also to come with the trophies. So we'll be there to help you find those animals. We also have infrastructure. Plenty of opportunities in our infrastructure. From road construction to upgrades in the dams, power generation. We use in Zimbabwe 2,200 megawatts per year. Right now we are producing less than that, so we're importing the deficit of electricity from South Africa. 300 megawatts and about 100 megawatts from Mozambique. So it means that we need to expand our hydropower stations, the thermal power stations, and also the solar power stations. We have plenty of coal. The best quality of coal is found in Zimbabwe. We can do coking coal, we can do thermal coal, we can export the coal. So it is the best. And this is why this sleeping giant now wins work. Because otherwise there's no need for can't continue sleeping when others are going. We need to leave flock, to catch up with others. financial service sector, opportunities, either to buy a bank or to go in partnership. We've got 19 operating banking licenses in Zimbabwe, being commercial banks, merchant banks, and building societies. 150 microfinance institutions. We are quite happy about this because we are emphasizing on financial inclusion, banking the unbanked. We've been very successful. About 90% of all the digital transactions in Zimbabwe are now using mobile banking platforms, cards, and the like. So we've been very happy about that. And some of it was by design and by default. By design, because that is our vision as a central bank, to ensure that at least we preserve foreign currency and use plastic money, mobile money, for purpose of transacting. If you come to America here, you spend most of your money using it on cards. In Africa, people want to use cash. They think cash is money. So there's a confusion. Yes, cash is part of money, but not all money is cash. So we are happy that at least we've been moving well on that. These are the banks in Zimbabwe. Commercial banks 13, People's is 5, 1 Savings People's Bank, and 178 microfinance. Of course, some of them they are the post-taking institutions called 4 and the developing bank. Deposits have been going up since 2009 when dollarization began. Up until now, we've got $8.5 billion worth of deposits, the total deposit, which is almost sometimes a common reserves in other countries. So 8.5, that's total deposits. And the usable deposits there are about $2 billion, otherwise but some of them are loans. The soundness and wellness of the banking sector is that the banking sector is well capitalized. Our capital adequacy ratio of the banks benchmark is 12%. But as of December 26th, it was 23.7%, 26 in June, and right now we are sitting at 28%, the capital adequacy ratio. The loan to deposit ratio is low. We've got 70%, 44% in 2017. Non-performing loans have gone down significantly. They used to be 20% in 2014. We started a company called Zimbabwe Asset Management Corporation, which is ZAMCO, which is like your AMCON in Nigeria, or like Dandato in Malaysia, which was taking account of the non-performing loans. So for a number of them, and these are the areas where even those who are in fund managers and those who are investment banking, they can also purchase the assets at a discount from the ZAMCO. It's owned by the Reserve Bank, the government company, and that is the area where one can also purchase assets from. Strategy to deal with Zimbabwe's debt. We owe the IFIs about 2.5 billion, mainly the ADB and the World Bank, and the bilaterals, non-Paris and Paris Club, we owe about 3.2 billion, and the debt that is in arrears is about 77%. So it is good for Zimbabwe to settle its arrears to become in good standing. It is one of those reasons that brings us here, and from here, some of us will proceed to the Washington, to the spring meetings for World Bank and the IMF, where we're also going to be presenting our options, which are available for us to settle our debts. This time around, the new administration is very clear that we need to continue with our Lima Peru program, this time around with more vigor and rigor, so that we can finish and deliver to bring Zimbabwe into good standing. We have got the top 5 countries on the bilaterals. The biggest one is Germany, followed by France, UK, Japan, and USA. Those 5 countries, they take more than 80% of our bilateral loans in arrears. So obviously it's very good to talk to those countries. China is a nine-party club. Most of the loans there, they are performing. Yes, we also have $200 million which is non-performing, which we are dealing with. So we know all the non-performing loans in this country, of this country called Zimbabwe, which is a working giant. And we are dealing with them. So we have dealt with the IMF debt last year in October. We are now going to deal with the World Bank and the ADB. After that, we'll deal with the EIB and then the Paris Club. Our strategies, options are very clear. The first one is either we raise a commercial loan, a long-term loan, commercial loan, using our resources, gold, platinum, tobacco, to leverage on them. And then we use that money to clear arrears, which is a commercial way of clearing. Our gold exports at $1 billion per year. If one investor was to raise money, say for 8 years to 10 years, build on gold, export receivables, it means that you'll be paying, as a country, $150 to $145 million per year. And open a collection account at a bank of your choice. And then we provide and we give a notice of assignment from the buyer straight into your collection account, so as to minimize payment risk, so as to ensure that at least money is paid to the lender first before we put our hands on it. They give us our change. At $2.5 billion, based on the $1 billion export receivables, it's doable. Even $3 billion. What do you do with that $3 billion? You use it to pay all the arrears to the IFIs. Become good standing, unlock capital from them, get a mega guarantee from World Bank, get a guarantee from the ADB, go to Deutsche Bank, for example, and get more money at a cheaper rate, and Zimbabwe is a country, then you can move again. So those are some of the techniques that we have got in our mind. As long as there's access to capital, access to foreign finance, and you won't let people down. This time around, we're coming with the thunder of not wanting to let anyone down. We've been into it, we've made our mistakes, we're now here to ensure that we go forward. So these are some of the transactions, very solid structures, which I do believe that with investors like yourselves, financial investors like yourself, you understand the language better than ourselves. But we are seeing the opportunities, not challenges. The debt clearance, as I said, that's what I'm talking about. We are therefore wanting to rebrand Zimbabwe, to remove that overhang in us, leapfrog, quantum leap, and you are therefore working on a new thrust as a new government. It's working on a number of things, ease of doing business reforms. We're working on promotion of special economic zones and industrial parks, so that at least they can export out of Zimbabwe. Sound market principles and protection of property rights. We do believe in property rights because we want security of investment. Consistent and coherent, friendly investment policies. You need to come to Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe are very friendly by nature. They were born very, very friendly. If we hear a murder case in Zimbabwe, I think we need to interrogate what caused it. I know many countries use guns, but in Zimbabwe we don't have guns to kill others. I mean, we aren't even allowed. Even those who are us or someone with guns, we don't know where we put them long back because we never use them for a long period of time. That's how good Zimbabwe is. And therefore, this country deserves a quantum leap in terms of. We respect the foreign investment, as we have said that so far the amendments to the indigenization laws have passed Parliament. Is now in law in Zimbabwe after the president has put his signature on that policy. So the 51.49%, which was scaring investors, which we've been discussing over the past many years, is now a law, with the exception of two products, the gold and the platinum, subject to the policy measures that are put around those two products. Otherwise, everything in Zimbabwe, you can come and open your 100% company, and therefore once you've got your 100% economy or company or firm, you've got free dividends and remittance. We prioritize your dividends and profits, 100% partition of capital, everything. We are now working on the ease of doing business reforms. We are also working on the parastatals or the state-owned enterprises reforms to ensure that they become commercial viable. Those ones which are not in line with the thinking of government will be sold. Those ones which are in line with government will be just be commercialized, so at the end of the day they become more efficient. And those which do not meet any of those criteria will be either be merged or we move away from them. So government is very serious on these issues. It will also help us to do fiscal consolidation, because most of the state-owned enterprises, they are draining the fiscals big time, and we want to have reforms on that area. So what's our prospects? The prospects, they look very bright, both in the short, medium, and long term. The major deficit in Zimbabwe was confidence. Now the confidence levels are very high after the new administration took over. We've seen even consumption has gone up. But it's the more you consume in a dollarized environment, the more foreign currency. We have seen the happiness index has gone up. The happiness index. We measure it ourselves. And what it does, it tells people to spend more. Just give you one statistic. We normally spend 120 million tons, also 120 million liters of fuel per month as a country. Now that is jumped to 135 million liters of fuel over the past 2 months. For people just to drive their vehicles, even if they're going nowhere. But to us, they're hitting us because they're eating too much foreign currency. But we can't help it. So some economies expect to rebound on the basis of good tobacco, good minerals, good mining areas, and opened up. We're expecting growth to rebound from 3.7 in 2017 to 4.5 on the minimum in 2018, and then to grow to between 7 and 8% in the medium to long term, as shown by this graph. The growth which was there between 2009 and 2012 of from 5.4 to 11, reaching a plateau, and then go down to 10, it was euphoria. What happened was that in 2009, we thought we had arrived after ditching our currency, using foreign currency. So the money that was being kept in the pillows by people came to the market, but we were growing from a low base, because we had gone down for more than a decade, and more than 50% drop. So we're growing from a low base. That euphoria, that excitement, people spend money because of a low growth, then we did not put in place measures to sustain that growth. Under normal circumstances, where we did at 11.9 before it went down, we're supposed to grow continuously like that. But unfortunately, our investment environment was such that no investors wanted to come and take the opportunities in Zimbabwe. That's why we're now, at the same time, we're now saying if you come to Zimbabwe, 51% of your company is ours, and the 49 is yours. Therefore, the investment climate and our vision did not move hand to hand. There was a mismatch between what we want to achieve and what was happening on the ground. And therefore, what you see, that's a decline there. by 10, 4.5, 3.8, reaching a bottom of 0.7, is a reflection of our poor policy mix and also the drought. But mainly it was on in terms of investment climate, which are not attractive. Now we're in the game. 0.7, 3.7, 4.5, why you grow further than that? Continuously for the next 10 years, whilst we are doing that. So this is the import from this graph, that we are now a serious economy. We are rebranding Zimbabwe. So we are taking measures for long-term growth potential with capital, which is now my conclusion. And the conclusion is that Zimbabwe looks very promising. With your support, with your energy, we will definitely get there. The political reforms which have been put in place by government are putting priority on ease of doing business, modernizing legal frameworks for investment to give you protection of your investment, sound monetary policies to ensure that there is macroeconomic stability, to ensure that there is one of our vision as a central bank is to ensure that there is a financial sector stability. Yes, we do have our own currency. We've said many times that the fundamentals of bringing back our currency is when there is enough foreign currency reserves in Zimbabwe to ensure that there is a full convertibility, that we need to ensure that there is a fully consolidation of the fiscal, to ensure that at least the fiscus do not generate demand pressures to push the currency. So we need to have a consistent and sustainable fiscal regime. Now, together with the buffer or the reserves in foreign currency, and those two economic fundamentals, when they are achieved, we're therefore in the position to have our own currency. As for now, the fundamentals are still weak. When they are improved, that's when we can only have our currency. So we need to have and how can we improve it? We can improve it through the abundance of resources, leveraging on the resources, working hard to increase production, so at the end of the day we can increase exports. So what do I be saying? We are saying we need your investment in Zimbabwe. We need medium to long term capital to resuscitate the economy. We need friends like yourselves. We are rebranding Zimbabwe. That's why we are opening it for business, so that Zimbabwe's economy can grow from a higher grounds to the other. We are a friendlier in the making. In uncharted territories, please come and help to build Zimbabwe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. My name is Peter Urbanczyk. I joined Exotics Capital today, so I don't have business cards. But I did have the pleasure of meeting the Zimbabwe delegation yesterday, and a couple things struck me. Been watching countries come out of highly indebted or difficult situations for over 30 years. And what struck me with these gentlemen, this delegation, was a realization that they have challenges ahead, but an openness to listen to a dialogue with both the public sector and the private sector to establish solutions, and also the political will to accomplish so much in terms of legislation. As I understand it, there was a great deal of accord in 2015 in Lima, and a lot of those things didn't get done for a few years, but at the very first cabinet meeting of this first government, they passed a number of laws that should help on private property and investment and dividend repatriation. So really impressive, gentlemen, and thank you for your time and your presentation. We'll open the floor to questions and answers. So please, there's some people walking around with mics, or it's maybe small enough that people can just stand up and ask questions.